Defenestration, an act of throwing someone out of a window, might sound like a rare and unusual occurrence today, but it has a fascinating history with significant political implications. In the year 1419, the city of Prague, located in the Kingdom of Bohemia, now the Czech Republic, was a hotbed of religious and political unrest. The Hussite movement, inspired by the teachings of the reformer Jan Hus, sought to challenge the authority of the Catholic Church and demanded religious reform. The Hussites, mainly composed of Bohemian nobles and peasants, felt increasingly marginalized and oppressed by the Catholic establishment and the Holy Roman Empire. On July 30th, 1419, tensions reached a breaking point. A large and impassioned crowd of Hussite protesters, bearing banners and symbols of their cause, gathered outside Prague Castle. Their voices echoed through the city streets as they called for an end to religious persecution and greater political representation. Inside the new town hall, representatives of the Catholic faction anxiously awaited the protesters' demands. The atmosphere inside the hall was tense, and both sides were unwilling to make concessions. The burgomaster and several councilors, staunch supporters of the Catholic Church, were tasked with addressing the protesters. As the meeting unfolded, emotions ran high. The protesters demanded immediate action and answers to their grievances, but the councillors appeared dismissive of their concerns. Tempers flared, and some in the crowd began to lose patience. Amidst the chaos, a single stone was hurled from the crowd, striking one of the windows of the new town hall, shattering it into pieces. This act of defiance proved to be the tipping point. The crowd interpreted it as a refusal by the Catholic establishment to take their demands seriously. Anger and frustration surged among the protesters, and the situation quickly escalated. In the midst of the turmoil, two Catholic councillors, Heinrich von Wolfel and Wilhelm von Pultz, were singled out by the enraged crowd. Accused of mocking the Hussite demands and disrespecting their faith, the councillors were seized by the protesters. Despite their pleas for mercy, the crowd showed no compassion. In a moment of raw anger and desperation, the protesters defenestrated the two councillors. With an intense heave, they were thrown out of the window, plummeting to their deaths below. The gravity of the situation was not lost on the witnesses, nor on the city of Prague itself. The defenestration of Heinrich von Wolfel and Wilhelm von Pultz marked a pivotal moment in the history of Bohemia and Europe. This act of violence was not just an isolated incident, but the catalyst for greater turmoil. The Catholic faction retaliated, calling for military action against the Hussites, and thus the Hussite Wars began. The wars raged on for several years, pitting the Hussites against the combined forces of the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire. The Hussites, under the leadership of figures like Jan Žižka, proved to be formidable opponents, employing innovative military tactics and defeating larger and better equipped armies. The Defenestration of Prague, though only a single event, had far-reaching consequences. It solidified the division between the Catholic Church and the Hussite movement, leading to a protracted and bloody religious conflict. It reshaped the dynamics of power in the Holy Roman Empire and left an indelible mark on the history of Bohemia. The 1618 Defenestration of Prague. The 1618 Defenestration of Prague was a significant event that had a profound impact on the history of Europe and played a key role in sparking the 30 Years' War. The situation in the Holy Roman Empire was characterized by religious tensions between Protestants and Catholics. In 1555, the Peace of Augsburg had been established, allowing each prince within the empire to determine the religion of his subjects, following the principle of cuius regio, eius religio, which means whose realm, his religion. Bohemia, a part of the Holy Roman Empire, had been governed by Habsburg kings since 1526. Despite the Catholic rulers, Bohemia had a significant Protestant population. In 1609, Emperor Rudolf II, who was also the King of Bohemia, issued the Letter of Majesty, freedom to the largely Protestant estates in Bohemia, allowing them to practice their faith without interference from the Catholic authorities. However, Rudolf II's rule was marked by increasing ineffectiveness and unpopularity, leading other members of the Habsburg dynasty to support his younger brother Matthias as the family head in 1606. Matthias began to take control of territories from Rudolf, starting with Hungary. In 1609, in an attempt to solidify his hold on Bohemia, Rudolf II issued the Letter of Majesty, granting the Bohemian estates the right to freely practice their Protestant religion, effectively setting up a Protestant Bohemian state church controlled by the estates. The situation escalated with the rise of Ferdinand of Styria, a cousin of Matthias, as the designated heir. Ferdinand was a staunch proponent of the Catholic counter-reformation and was likely to curtail the religious freedoms enjoyed by the Bohemian Protestants. In 1617, Ferdinand was elected King of Bohemia, and tensions increased further. The Protestant estates in Bohemia were concerned about their religious rights, particularly as they believed the Letter of Majesty applied not only to the nobility and self-governing towns, but also to the king's own lands. On May 23, 1618, the conflict reached a boiling point. Four Catholic lords regent, Count Jaroslav Berita of Martinica, Count Wilhelm Slavato of Clun, Adam II von Sternberg, the Supreme Burgrave, and Matthew Leopold Popel Lobkowitz, the Grand Prior, arrived at the Bohemian Chancellery. Members of the dissolved assembly of the three main Protestant estates, led by Count Thurn, gathered to confront the regents. They demanded to know whether the regents were responsible for persuading the emperor to order the cessation of Protestant church construction on royal lands. The regents requested time to confer with their superior, Adam von Waldstein, who was not present. The Protestants, however, demanded an immediate answer. When two of the regents, Adam II von Sternberg and Matthew Leopold Popel Lobkowitz, were declared innocent and removed from the room, Count Wilhelm Slavato of Clun and Count Jaroslav Berita of Martinica were left to face the Protestants. Count von Thurn accused them of being enemies of their religion and seeking to deprive them of their religious freedoms. He declared that keeping these men alive would mean losing the Letter of Majesty and their religion. In a dramatic turn of events, the two regents and their secretary, Philip Fabricius, were defenestrated from the third-floor window. Astonishingly, they survived the 70-foot fall, with differing accounts attributing their survival to divine intervention or the luck of landing on a dung heap. The Defenestration of Prague marked a turning point in the conflict between the Protestant estates and the Catholic Habsburgs. It led to the gathering of allies for war on both sides. Following the death of Matthias in 1619, Ferdinand II was elected as the Holy Roman Emperor. Simultaneously, the Bohemian estates deposed Ferdinand II as King of Bohemia and replaced him with Frederick V, Elector Palatine, a leading Calvinist and son-in-law of King James VI, an eye of Scotland, England and Ireland. However, the Protestants' decision to depose a properly elected king hindered their ability to gain international support for their cause. This ultimately led to the Battle of White Mountain on November 8, 1620, where Ferdinand II and the Catholic forces emerged victorious, marking the beginning of the 30 Years' War. The aftermath of the battle saw plundering and pillaging in Prague for weeks. Subsequently, 27 nobles and citizens were tortured and executed in the Old Town Square. 12 of their heads were impaled on iron hooks and displayed from the bridge tower as a warning. These harsh reprisals contributed to the resentment that fueled the conflict throughout the 30 Years' War.